For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe. One of the biggest mysteries about the Harappan civilization of South Asia, also known as the Indus Valley Civilization, located in Pakistan and northwestern India, is what language the people of the culture spoke. Well, to be fair, it covered a large geographic area, and the people probably spoke different languages and dialects depending on where they lived. When history enthusiasts talk about the language of the Indus Valley Civilization, they mean the language indicated by the writing on the seals that have been found there, which would have been the language of the ruling elite. Despite a century of arguments over what the language may have been, there is still no consensus among scholars on what it was, or on the decipherment of the script. But there are many proposals that have been made. Join me as we take a look at some of the more popular ones and delve into the enigma of the language of the Harappans. Speaking of language, when you travel around the world looking at archaeological sites like I do, you meet people who speak all kinds of different languages. And if you're going to find your way around, be able to get information and form relationships with the people you meet, make new friends, it's always a good idea to learn how to speak the way the people there speak. So, that is why I'm happy to recommend to you the sponsor of today's video, Babbel, one of the top language learning apps in the world. And, to get fans of World of Antiquity, a special deal on their app. It's summer as I'm filming this, and summer is the season of travel. Babbel is every explorer's must-have travel accessory for a reason. Its simple, bite-sized lessons give you the confidence to speak a new language wherever you go. See the ancient ruins, and then stop and say hello. Babbel teaches real-world conversations, not just repetition of what you might find in a stuffy grammar book. Their lessons prepare you to have practical conversations about travel, business, relationships, and more.
Buonasera. È lei la signora Marchi?
Buonasera.
Sì, sono io.
Sì, sono io.
Piacere. Come sta?
Piacere. Come sta? You can easily access it on your phone. Babbel is scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. Planning that trip? You still have time. Lessons are designed by real language teachers. They offer live classes too. And you get 2 free classes with your subscription. There are a few different subscriptions to choose from, including a lifetime subscription. Down below the video is a link, and if you click on it, you'll get 60% off on your subscription. Babbel also offers a 20-day money-back guarantee. If you are going to learn a language, I'd be interested to hear about it, so let me know in the comments below. So far, nearly 4,000 inscribed objects have been found at IVC, Indus Valley Civilization, sites, and the vast majority of the writing is on seals. No, not those kinds of seals. These kinds of seals. These would have been impressed into clay. In fact, some impressions, we call them sealings, have been found. And we also get some writing, though less commonly, on copper tablets, copper implements, and pottery, and other items. Around half of the inscriptions were found at one site, Mohenjo-Daro, and another 27% were found at the site of Harappa. The seals have largely been interpreted as indicators of trade, a mechanism to stamp, record, and trace the movement of goods. But some have questioned this interpretation. They say that the number of seals recovered from the IVC is far fewer than what we find in, say, Mesopotamia. And we should expect many from trade. Sealings have been found, yes, which indicates some were used as stamps. But the seals recovered have not worn much at all. And we would expect them to have done that if they were continually used as stamps. And they were carved of steatite, which is kind of a soft stone to be used for stamping. So other suggestions have been proposed, such as that they were tokens used in the buying and selling of goods, or that they were amulets worn around the neck, perhaps as identification of important people. The fact that the script disappeared around 1700 BCE is an indication that it was not in widespread use and that it was associated with civic life, as this was the time cities went into decline too. But whatever the case, we can't read them. They have not yet been deciphered. The reason it has been such a challenge is because, well, we don't know what language it is. But also, most of the inscriptions are very short, containing on average only 5 signs. This means they probably aren't even full sentences. One inscription is longer, containing 26 signs, but this still is not enough for us to be able to crack it. Scientists have tried using AI, which has provided some helpful data, but we still have a long way to go. What we have been able to determine is that there are between 400 and 700 signs, depending on how much variation in a single sign you think is permissible. But the number indicates that this is probably a logosyllabic script, meaning each sign stands for a syllable rather than a letter. It was written most often right to left, and we figured that out because the letters are sometimes cramped on the left side, which indicates they ran out of room while writing. Past breakthroughs in the decipherment of ancient scripts have happened because we have a little help, such as the existence of proper names that could be identified in the script, a bilingual inscription, or trilingual, in which a readable script is placed next to the unreadable one, knowledge of which language it is written in. That's a biggie. But we have none of these for the Indus script. Just as the script does not help us determine the language, so a language has not helped us decipher the script. A natural and reasonable supposition would be that one of the languages spoken in South Asia today, or one of their ancestor languages, was spoken in the IVC. So, what are the languages of South Asia? Well, there are 22 official ones and 179 more that are considered important. But it probably would be better first to deal with language families instead of individual languages. We can narrow it down after we know which family is the most likely. There are 4 main languages: Indo-European, Dravidian, Austroasiatic, and Sino-Tibetan. The Indo-European family is the most widespread, with about 1.5 billion speakers, and is concentrated in the north, central, and western parts of South Asia, as well as South and Central Sri Lanka. So it is very prevalent around the area once occupied by the IVC. Some people have proposed that the Harappan elites spoke an Indo-European language, and more specifically, a language of its subfamily, Indo-Aryan. The problem is that it conflicts with the conclusions of historical linguistics, which has reconstructed the family tree of Indo-European and the spread of its languages. Linguistic indications are that Indo-European language entered South Asia only after 2000 BCE, and the IVC was around many centuries before that. The next largest language family in South Asia is Dravidian, which appears to have developed there and is spoken by about 250 million people. It is found today mostly in southern India and northern Sri Lanka, nowhere near where the IVC was. However, there is a pocket of Dravidian speakers in western Pakistan. And the fact that it also is there, far removed from the other Dravidian languages, has suggested to some scholars that in the distant past, the Dravidian language had a wider distribution. It is a fairly common view, in fact, that when Indo-European speakers entered South Asia, their languages displaced Dravidian languages, and this is why Dravidian is not found much in the north. However, recent genetic studies of the Dravidian speakers in Pakistan, their specific language is called Brahui, shows closer affinity with Indo-Iranian speaking populations to the west. Indo-Iranian is part of the Indo-European family, and less with Dravidian speakers of the south. This shows that, of course, although language is most often passed down through families, there nevertheless is not a one-to-one correlation between genes and language. Still, that the IVC spoke a Dravidian language is a distinct possibility, and many scholars still hold to this idea. As for the other 2 language families, Austroasiatic and Sino-Tibetan, these are known to have come from the east, the former with the expansion of agriculture, and the latter relatively more recently, so they generally are not considered viable possibilities for the language family of the IVC. There have been many amateur attempts to decipher the script. This commonly happens with undeciphered ancient scripts, especially the popular ones. But these have gained no traction, and the reason is because decipherments of scripts are convincing only if they have a clear set of rules that allows any competent researcher, besides the proposer of those rules, to convincingly decipher all or most of the inscriptions using phonetic, syntactic, and semantic principles, no more complicated than those used in other ancient scripts. They also need a way to be tested. Just because a proposal is internally consistent, this is not enough. It's possible for many proposals to be internally consistent, but they can't all be right. Corroboration is needed. So, if you're on the internet and you hear someone claim boldly that they or someone they know has it all figured out, take it with a grain of salt. One of the problems with this situation is that there are rival language groups claiming to descend directly from the IVC, often for political reasons. People are emotionally invested. This makes it difficult for serious scholars to work unmolested. And then there's another point of view. Some scholars are of the opinion that the Indus script is not representing speech at all. In other words, it isn't actually writing. It's a system of symbols intended to convey general meanings rather than language. This thesis is based on the fact that the texts are so brief, they lack the precision we would expect of linguistic signs, the existence of single signs and low-frequency signs, the similarities with symbolic representations elsewhere, that there's no archaeological evidence of any manuscript production in the IVC or of large-scale bureaucracy in general. But this view also has not gained traction. One counter to their claim is that computer analysis of the Indus script has shown that certain signs tend to cluster together, indicating syntax. This would not be the case if the signs were merely symbolic. The randomness of the signs has been measured, and it turns out that they fall somewhere in between a disordered code like DNA and a highly ordered computer code. So there is a degree of predictability in the script that we would find in true writing. So are we any closer to ascertaining what language was spoken in the IVC, or at least what language was spoken by the elites of the IVC? Maybe a little, but not enough to answer the question. What we really need is a couple of long inscriptions, more than 50 characters in them, and then we could really make some headway on decipherment. I think this is probably the most promising way we could finally get an answer. Thanks for watching. Just a reminder that this is an audience-supported channel, so if you believe it is worth keeping alive, a one-time donation with a super thanks would be much appreciated. If you want to support on a regular basis, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/World of Antiquity. You might like my little e-booklet, Why Ancient History Matters. It's designed to persuade people that the subject is important, even in the modern world. You might also wish to use it to help spread the word, so feel free to share it with someone you know. It's free for anyone who wants it. I've left a link in the description box below the video for you to grab a copy. Catch you later.